Get that thing out of my pool. Mrs. Jenkins screamed, pointing at my disabled daughter Mia in her waterproof wheelchair. Everyone stared as Mia began crying. When I refused to leave, Mrs. Jenkins grabbed the chair and yanked it. The horrible crack of Mia's fingers breaking changed our lives forever. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. What is that thing doing in my pool? The scream echoed across the community swimming area as I turned to see Mrs. Jenkins storming toward us, her face twisted with rage. She pointed at my daughter Mia, who had just lowered herself into the shallow end using her special waterproof wheelchair. "Excuse me?" I said, stepping into the water beside my 10-year-old daughter. "My daughter has every right to be here." "Not with that." Mrs. Jenkins pointed at Mia's waterproof wheelchair. "No equipment in the pool. It's against the rules." Other families were staring now. Mia's face crumpled as she tried to make herself smaller in the water. Born with spinal muscular atrophy, Mia had been looking forward to this swim all week, her first time using the new waterproof chair we'd saved for months to buy. "This is medical equipment," I explained, keeping my voice calm despite the anger building inside me. "The Americans with Disabilities Act requires." "I don't care about special laws." Mrs. Jenkins cut me off. "I'm the HOA president and I make the rules here. No equipment means no equipment." "Dad," Mia whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "Maybe we should go." "No, honey," I said gently. "You deserve to swim just like everyone else." Mrs. Jenkins stepped closer, blocking the afternoon sun. "Either get that contraption out of my pool immediately, or I'm calling security." "Your pool?" I challenged. "This is a community pool that all residents pay for through HOA fees, including us. And as president of this community, I decide who uses it." Her voice rose higher. "That thing could leak oil or damage the tiles." My blood boiled as several children giggled nearby. We'd only moved to Suncrest Estates 3 months ago after my wife died. The school district had excellent services for disabled children, and the listing had advertised accessible amenities for all residents. "This is a fully certified aquatic wheelchair," I said firmly. "It doesn't leak anything. Now please stop making a scene and let my daughter enjoy the pool like everyone else." Mrs. Jenkins pulled out her phone. "I'm calling security right now, and I'll be adding a fine to your HOA account." Other parents were whispering, but no one stepped forward to help. Some even gathered their children and left the pool area entirely, as if Mia's disability might be contagious. "This is discrimination," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "And I'll be filing a formal complaint." Mrs. Jenkins laughed, a cold, harsh sound. "With whom?" "I run the HOA board. My husband is the mayor. Go ahead and try." Mia was fully crying now, her small shoulders shaking. She'd been through so much already, losing her mother to cancer last year, moving to a new town, starting a new school, and swimming was one of her few joys. "I'm taking photos for evidence," Mrs. Jenkins announced, aiming her phone at Mia. "Proof of your violation. Stop photographing my child." I moved to block her view, water splashing around my waist. "That's not appropriate." "Don't tell me what's appropriate in my community." She stepped to the pool edge, continuing to take photos despite my objection. "I've worked too hard making this neighborhood perfect to have it ruined by people who don't belong." "People who don't belong?" My voice shook with rage. "What exactly do you mean by that?" She gestured dismissively at Mia's wheelchair. "You know exactly what I mean. Normal families don't want to swim with special equipment." Something snapped inside me. My daughter deserves respect. "We're not leaving this pool." "Watch me make you leave," Mrs. Jenkins hissed. She reached down and grabbed the handle of Mia's special wheelchair, attempting to drag it, and Mia, toward the pool steps. "Stop," I shouted. "You can't touch her chair. It's part of her mobility." Mia screamed as her chair jerked sideways in the water. "Daddy, help." I lunged to stop Mrs. Jenkins, but the water slowed my movement. She yanked harder on the chair's handle, pulling it toward the steps while Mia clung desperately to the armrests. "Let go of her chair now," I demanded. "Get this thing out." Mrs. Jenkins grunted, giving another powerful pull. What happened next will haunt my nightmares forever. As the chair tilted from Mrs. Jenkins' pulling, Mia's fingers got caught between the chair's metal frame and the concrete pool edge. The weight of the chair combined with Mrs. Jenkins' forceful yanking crushed 4 of Mia's fingers against the hard pool edge. The crack was audible even over the pool noises. Mia's scream pierced the air, a sound of pure agony that no parent should ever have to hear. "Mia!" I surged forward, water splashing violently around me. Blood was already clouding the water around my daughter's hand where her fingers were trapped. Mrs. Jenkins dropped the chair handle and stepped back, her face suddenly pale. "She shouldn't have had her hand there," she said, voice oddly flat. "This is exactly why equipment isn't allowed. Someone call 911. I shouted to the frozen onlookers as I tried to carefully free Mia's crushed fingers. Her face had gone white with shock, her lips turning blue. Finally, another parent ran to get the first aid kit while someone else called an ambulance. Mrs. Jenkins backed away from the pool, still clutching her phone. "I was enforcing the rules," she repeated to anyone who would listen. "This is why we have rules." The paramedics arrived within minutes. The lead EMT's face was grim as he examined Mia's mangled hand. "These breaks are severe," he told me quietly. "She needs to get to a hospital immediately." As they loaded my sobbing daughter into the ambulance, a police cruiser pulled up. Officer Reynolds stepped out and approached me. "What happened here?" he asked, notebook in hand. "That woman," I pointed to Mrs. Jenkins, who was now huddled with a small group of neighbors, "assaulted my disabled daughter and crushed her fingers by yanking her wheelchair." Mrs. Jenkins broke away from her group and approached us. "That is completely false," she said smoothly. "I was simply enforcing our pool regulations. Equipment isn't allowed in the water. It's clearly posted on the rules board." When I explained this, he became aggressive, and during the commotion, unfortunately, his daughter's hand was injured. "That's a lie." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You grabbed her wheelchair and pulled it while she was sitting in it?" Officer Reynolds looked between us. "Sir, please calm down. We'll sort this out. Are there any witnesses who saw exactly what happened?" Several people had gathered, but most suddenly became very interested in their phones or the ground. Finally, an elderly man stepped forward. "I saw the whole thing," he began. "Edward," Mrs. Jenkins interrupted, "your cataracts are so bad you can barely see across the street. I don't think your testimony will be helpful here." The elderly man deflated and stepped back. "I need to go with my daughter," I said urgently. "She's terrified and in shock." Officer Reynolds nodded. "Go ahead, sir. I'll continue investigating and meet you at the hospital." As I climbed into the ambulance, I heard Mrs. Jenkins call out, "Steve! Steve Reynolds. I didn't recognize you with the sunglasses. How are Martha and the kids? Is she still on the school board with me?" My heart sank as the doors closed. I knew that tone, the voice of someone calling in a favor. At the hospital, the news was devastating. X-rays confirmed all 4 fingers on Mia's right hand were broken. 2 had compound fractures where bone had torn through skin. The hand surgeon didn't sugarcoat it. With this level of crushing injury, especially in a child with SMA where bone density is already compromised, she may never regain full use of these fingers. Mia, my beautiful daughter who found joy in painting and playing with her therapy dog despite her progressive disease, might lose the ability to do the few physical activities she could still enjoy. While Mia was in surgery, Officer Reynolds arrived. His demeanor had changed completely. "Mr. Davis, I've spoken with several witnesses," he began, not quite meeting my eyes. "The general consensus is that this was an unfortunate accident during a rule enforcement discussion." "Accident?" I nearly shouted. "She grabbed my daughter's wheelchair and yanked it. There was no discussion. She was screaming at us from the moment we entered the pool." "Sir, please lower your voice. This is a hospital." His hand moved to rest on his taser. "Multiple witnesses stated they heard you threatening Mrs. Jenkins before the incident." "What witnesses?" No one would speak up. "I'm not at liberty to say." He flipped his notebook closed. "Based on the evidence gathered, no charges will be filed. This appears to be an unfortunate accident during a civil dispute over pool regulations." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "My daughter's hand is crushed, possibly permanently disabled, and you're calling it an accident?" "Mr. Davis, I suggest you focus on your daughter's recovery and perhaps consider following HOA regulations in the future to avoid similar incidents." Before I could respond, my phone rang. It was my boss. "Mark, what the hell is going on?" he demanded without preamble. "I just got a call from Harold Jenkins saying you threatened his wife and caused some kind of incident at your neighborhood pool." My stomach dropped. Harold Jenkins, owner of Jenkins Development Group, which was currently negotiating a major contract with our company. "No, that's not what happened," I tried to explain. "His wife attacked my daughter, crushed her fingers." "Save it, Mark. Jenkins Development is ready to sign a $40 million contract with us. Do you have any idea what kind of position this puts me in?" "My daughter is in surgery," I said, my voice breaking. Her hand was crushed. "I can't deal with work right now. This is exactly why I told you that neighborhood was a bad idea. Those people practically run this town. The Jenkins donate to every political campaign and sit on every board that matters." Mia was assaulted. "You're fired, Mark. Effective immediately. Jenkins made it clear, either you go or they pull the contract. I have shareholders to answer to." The call ended, leaving me standing in the sterile hospital hallway as my world collapsed. My daughter was in surgery with life-altering injuries. The police were covering for her attacker. I just lost my job. And our mounting medical bills would soon have no insurance coverage. Through my fog of despair, I remembered the teenagers who had been recording videos in the pool area. They'd been making some kind of social media content when we arrived, setting up a phone on a tripod near the shallow end, right where the incident happened. With shaking hands, I found the community Facebook group and posted, "To the teenagers filming at the Suncrest pool today, your camera might have recorded my disabled daughter being assaulted. Please check your footage and contact me." Within an hour, my phone pinged with a message from 16-year-old Tyler. "We got everything. That lady was horrible to your daughter. We already saved backups of the video." Hope flickered to life in my chest. 3 hours later, as Mia slept in recovery, her small hand wrapped in bandages and surgical pins, I sat with Elena Cortez, a disability rights attorney who had rushed to the hospital after receiving Tyler's video. "This is one of the clearest cases of assault and discrimination I've ever seen," Elena said, her face grim as she replayed the footage. "And we have multiple violations: disability harassment, assault on a disabled minor, making false statements to police, wrongful termination based on association with a disabled person. The connections between these parties makes this particularly egregious. Can we really fight these people?" I asked, barely daring to hope. "The Jenkins family basically runs this town." Elena's eyes flashed with determination. "That's exactly why we're going to fight them. And win." What followed was 6 months of the hardest battle I've ever fought. Elena was relentless. The teenager's video was damning, capturing every moment from Mrs. Jenkins' first verbal assault to the horrific crushing of Mia's fingers. It clearly showed Mrs. Jenkins grabbing the wheelchair without permission and forcefully pulling it while Mia was seated in it. We filed multiple lawsuits, against Mrs. Jenkins personally for assault of a disabled minor, against the HOA for disability discrimination, against the police department for misconduct, and against my former employer for wrongful termination. The video went viral after Elena held a press conference. The image of Mrs. Jenkins yanking a disabled child's wheelchair and the resulting injury outraged the public. 3 national disability rights organizations joined our fight. The police department settled first, faced with undeniable video evidence of Officer Reynolds' bias. He was suspended, then resigned. My former employer followed, reinstating me with back pay and damages, plus a transfer to their Denver office, far from the Jenkins influence. The HOA and Mrs. Jenkins fought harder, hiring expensive attorneys. But when 5 other families came forward with similar stories of disability discrimination, including an elderly couple denied a chairlift for their own pool access, the case crumbled. The settlement was substantial, enough to cover Mia's ongoing medical care, specialized equipment, and a trust fund for her future education. Mrs. Jenkins was forced to resign from the HOA board and faced criminal charges for assault of a minor with a disability, a specially protected class in our state. She received probation and 2,000 hours of community service at a rehabilitation center for disabled children, a punishment she told the judge was cruel and unusual. Today, 1 year later, Mia and I sit by the pool at our new accessible home in a different community. Her right hand, after multiple surgeries and intensive therapy, has regained some function. She may never have the same dexterity she once had, but she's adapted remarkably, learning to use specially designed adaptive equipment. "Dad," she calls, holding up her waterproof drawing pad with her good hand, "look what I made." The drawing shows a girl in a wheelchair, surrounded by water and smiling. Small colorful fish swim around her, and above her head, breaking through clouds, is a brilliant rainbow. "It's beautiful, Mia," I say, blinking back tears. "What are you going to call it?" She smiles, her resilience shining brighter than any pain Mrs. Jenkins inflicted. "Swimming free." I hug her gently, careful of her still sensitive hand. In the end, the HOA Karen who crushed my daughter's fingers didn't crush her spirit. Instead, she awakened a strength in both of us we never knew we had, and brought justice not just for Mia, but for others who had suffered silently under discrimination masquerading as rule enforcement. Our case created legal precedent in our state for accessibility in community facilities. Elena used part of our settlement to establish a legal defense fund for families facing similar discrimination. The Mia's law, now pending in the state legislature, would require all HOAs to have clear ADA-compliant policies for community amenities. Sometimes it takes our darkest moments to show us our power to create change. For Mia and me, that change began with 4 crushed fingers and ended with a community transformed. You know what, Dad? Mia says, looking up from her drawing. I'm glad we fought back. Me too, sweetheart, I say, kissing the top of her head. Me too. Mia returns to her artwork, her damaged hand working alongside her good one to create beauty despite pain. A perfect metaphor for how we've learned to live. The HOA Karen thought she was crushing a little girl's fingers. She didn't realize she was actually awakening a movement that would create ripples of change far beyond our small story. Sometimes the smallest hands push back the hardest against injustice.